The strategy that I chose to use and to demonstrate is the KWL chart. So the know, want to know, and learn chart. This strategy is actually really great when it's paired with informational texts, but it's also so universal it can be used for all subjects, for all grades. One thing that this chart does is it activates students' schema, which allows them to make connections between what they already know about a topic to what they're about to learn. So using this strategy, teachers will determine a topic to teach and direct the students to think about and write down what they already know about the topic. So before the teacher even starts teaching the lesson, they're going to write down what they already know about it. Following that, students are going to write down what they still want to know about the topic, what they have questions of or what they don't really know or don't really understand. They're going to write that here. And then following the lesson, students will actually write down what they learned. And they can do it as like a group discussion or small groups or independently. It just depends on the classroom dynamic and the teacher, what they want. So to teach primary grade levels, I would actually change the chart to make it horizontal. I would think this would promote good handwriting in the young students. I would also have them work as a whole group. So it would be a whole group discussion. Students would be able to raise their hand and give examples and suggestions and volunteer whatever they actually know about the topic or what they still want to know about the topic. So if I was teaching primary, I would just simply explain, today we're going to learn about liquids. So my K through 8 teaching subject would be matter. But more specifically for primary, it would be liquids because they're not learning totally about matter. So I would say, today we're going to learn about liquids. Here's our book for today. What is a liquid? Does anybody know what a liquid is? Can somebody describe a liquid? So I would listen to them speak and give their answers. Then I'd say, we're going to actually fill out a chart. We're going to fill out what we already know about liquids. So I'd pass out the chart and explain to them that they could either write their answers or they can draw their answers depending on their capabilities. For this grade level, I would direct them by asking them specific questions. What do we know about liquids? Can they change colors? Are they cold? Are they hot? That's how I would promote their thinking. I don't want them to just go in with no ideas. I would like to kind of lean them towards what to write. So first, we're going to fill out what we know, and we're going to fill out what we still want to know about the topic. So again, this would be a group discussion. They would draw or write here, and I would write their answers on the board. Then I would reintroduce our book. What is a liquid? And we're going to read through it, and I would explain to them that we could either jot down our ideas during our reading. They can draw small pictures or write. But afterwards, we're going to come together and we're going to write down everything that we can think of that we learned during our reading. So that would be for the primary. This chart is super simple. 3 questions that we could ask with this book. Keep switching. With this book would be number 1. It would be a literal question. What is matter? This question is directly stated in the book, and students can look through the text to actually find the answer. Our inferential question would be, if you pour maple syrup into an oval container, what would happen to the maple syrup? What do you think would happen to the maple syrup? So this answer is not directly stated in the book, but they can use information that they read from the text to come up with their answer. And finally, an evaluative question I would ask would be, do you believe a liquid can change if it's heated or cooled? Why or why not? So this information is in the text, but not directly stated. They have to agree or disagree with what the author is saying. So that would be for primary. Now for elementary level, I would just change the chart slightly. It would be vertical, know, want to know, and learned. And to teach these students, I would actually have them into small groups. And I would first say, okay, we're going to learn about matter today. Does anybody know about matter? Like, what can we remember about the topic of matter? I would hand each group a tablet because our book that we're using, The Nature of Matter, is actually an ebook. I would direct them to the website and to this actual text and let them skim through. Each group can skim through the text. And while they're doing that, I'm going to tell them, show them the chart and say, okay, so we're going to write down, I want you to write down everything you know already about matter. And as you're skimming, I want you to also think about what you still want to know or what you have questions of, what you're still curious about. I want you to write everything you still want to know, want to learn in this section. So the students will do that. They're going to write down what they know and want to know, and then I would begin our reading. And I'd also let them know that you can either write down during our reading what you're learning, if that helps you, or you can wait until the end, until our story is done, and you're going to write down what you have learned in your column. And we are going to discuss following the reading what we learned. So that would be for elementary. I would have it in small groups rather than a large group discussion, and change the chart just slightly. To teach middle grades, I would actually change this chart completely. I feel like when students get older, they get less interested in school, and I think by making small changes to make things more fun, they might be engaged more interested. So here I would actually have the bubbles rather than a plain vertical or horizontal chart. It would be the same concept. They're going to write what they know, want to know, and what they learned. So again, for these students, I would have them in small groups as well. I think this would help diverse learners and English language learners. They may not have as much background knowledge or understanding of a topic, so I think working in small groups would really benefit them. So I would, again, just introduce our topic. We're going to learn about matter today. More specifically, we're going to learn about the periodic table and elements and atoms, etc. I would encourage them to have like a small group discussion amongst themselves. What do we know about this topic so far? What have we learned in previous classes? And as they're like talking amongst their groups, I would be passing out our chart. And I would let them know that, okay, everything you're discussing that you already know about the topic, we're going to write right here on the left side. We're going to write everything that we can think of that we already know. And then over here on the right side, we're going to write down what we're still curious about, what we still want to know, or what we may know some things, but we don't know everything yet. So here, we're going to write that right over here. So again, I would introduce this book to them. And while they're filling out the chart, I would actually pass our story around for each group so they can skim through also and generate more ideas. And then following our reading, again, it'll be the same thing as the other grades. We're going to just write down what we have learned. This can happen during or after our reading. Write down everything that you could think of that you learned from the story. And following the story, we will have a group discussion of what we learned. And then followed by an activity of some sort.